we all know that the number one expense as people get older is on healthcare. I rather see people enjoying their money that they've worked so hard for, same with Stephen, to use it for enjoyment.
Welcome to the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast, dedicated to you and your loved ones living at 100% for 100 years and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Plasker. Welcome, everybody, to the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast. Dr. Eric Plasker here. Yes, we are transforming health and longevity consciousness worldwide so that you and your loved ones can live at 100% for 100 years and beyond. And hey, I'm staring at my guest. They got this grin on their face because we're going to talk about your finances being financially viable, abundant on every level as you age. And so I'm with Steve Canner, financial planner for 35 years, Steve?
Almost 40 years.
Almost 40 years. Well, you don't look it. And then we got Brian Mitteldorf, good friend of mine since we're 5 years old. Brian, amazing things. We went to chiropractic school together. We went to day camp together, did so well. Now he's in the financial planning world, helping people become more abundant. So welcome, guys.
Yes, Great to be here.
Look forward to it.
And he was my financial planner. I pulled this guy out of to help other people.
Yeah, you pulled them out. You started to say you pulled them out of retirement, but we know that retirement's an outdated concept. I'm
not saying it.
You start to lose your brain, right, Steve?
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. I don't even say that word anymore.
No way.
And if you're married, your spouse throws you out of the house because you're spending too much time at home.
We'd kill each other if I was home.
Well, listen, we're going to cover 7 ways so important because you've heard me say, and I think that's why you're here. We're on the same page that your longevity, your extended life, your 100-year lifestyle is the single greatest financial opportunity that you have, especially if you do the right things. And if you didn't do the right things, you get a second and third and fourth chance. But we want to help people get on track and maybe avoid some of those mistakes along the way. So I don't know which one of you wants to start, but talk to us about why is this, first of all, so important to you that you spend this time teaching people in this way?
I think it's important because I've been doing this for so long. I see people, I'll take an example, the 2008 turndown that we had, which is only 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I mean, I had people that would come into my office and say, man, I got to sell my house. I got to go back to work. No one told them what to do. People help. Sometimes people accrue money. They're good at that in certain ways. Nobody talks to people about how to disperse the money, how to distribute it in a tax-efficient manner so that they can get an income that they can outlive, which is so important today. I go back to my dad retiring when he was 65. At that point in time, the average expectancy of a pension plan was like 3.5 to 4 years. So all these companies had defined benefit plans. They would be happy to pay them because in 4 years on average, they were done. Today, you have people retiring and they're living for 20, 30, 35, 40 years after they retire. Companies can't afford to do that anymore. So most people who work today do not have a company helping them plan for their retirement anymore. They have a 401k, which says, put your money in the stock market and here are the different funds, choose. Doesn't work. And people are realizing that they're not getting the retirement income that they used to get.
Yeah, and on another note, and Brian, I know you want to say something.
I did, because I have a different reason.
On what you said, my dad, he was one of those guys that worked for a company for decades, and his plan let him down. His company let him down. They ran into problems. So, so that's another side of it. So
we hear that. We hear that a lot.
Yeah. So Brian, So Brian,
well,
go ahead.
My reasoning's a little bit different than Stephen's. It's kind of similar to the 100-year lifestyle. If you want people to live longer and live healthier, they need to have the financial means to do so. Yeah. So here we are preaching health as chiros and everything, and we go, if you want people to live longer back and I said, and live healthier, missing? What have I done better? They need to have the financial means. My associate doctors used to ask me and said, "Wow, Brian, you really planned on this. You did." And then I come back to see. I go, "Wow, I really planned on this. How come nobody else is? How come no one else saw the future? How come no one else, things can happen in a blink of an eye. Something bad can happen, and boom, then your whole life has changed. If you're preaching health and people want to live longer, I guarantee you they want to live longer with funds than without funds.
Yeah, and to go to number 6 on your list of 7 things and doing
If
that
you're
first,
preaching
by the
health
way,
and people
I've been a
want to
keynote
live
speaker
longer,
at financial
I guarantee you they
institutions
want to
and
live longer
financial. I
with
spoke at the
funds
National
than
Association
without
of
funds.
Personal Financial Advisors did a keynote for their conference, and it was interesting in that meeting. The reason why they were so inspired by that message and what we're talking about here is because they have people that did plan from a financial perspective, but did not take care of themselves from a health perspective. So they worked the first 50, 60 years trying to accumulate wealth and put them in a position to be abundant. And then they spend it all in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years trying to get their health back, which is not the 100-year lifestyle either.
You know, we all know that the number one expense as people get older is on healthcare. I rather see people enjoying their money that they've worked so hard for, same with Stephen, to use it for enjoyment. You could use a percentage of that for healthcare and then use a larger percentage of it to live your life to the fullest. That's what we're here for. You know, you want to have fun. You want to choose to be able to leave it to your family if you want to. It's terrible to pay for hospital bills, homes, nursing. That's not living. I mean, I'm sorry. That's not what you wanted. You never go for something like that. Never.
No. And I'm a walking example. I'm a cancer survivor for 20 years. The last 3 years, I've been really taking care of my wife. She suffered a couple of mini strokes. It's affected her ability to walk, to drive, to do things. So I've become her caregiver. And it's not easy today. It's not. And Eric, you brought this up. You know, we're the sandwich category. We're the ones that we have kids of our own to take care of, and we have our parents to take care of. And I'm living proof of that right now. And it is brutal. And I know that no parent wants to be a burden on their child. If you follow our plans, you won't be a burden, you'll be an asset. The whole biggest thing that we're trying to change the terminology to people is, and I know that no parent wants to be a burden on their child. Don't think about materialistic things. You won't be a burden, you'll be an asset. Even young kids today, I know we have millennial children, we have assets. Enough with toys. And, you know, I mean, I was a little different in a certain respect. I mean, in planning, because I would always say you could plan as long as you can put the money that you need to put away to get to where you want to get to at some point down the road. Whatever's left over, you can then spend. But make sure you put away enough of that money, then buy whatever toys you want. So I'm not against toys, but you need to put away that money first.
Right.
Yeah, we talk about in the 100-Year Lifestyle, finding that balance, that perfect balance for you between long-term vision and immediate gratification. Whereas if it's too much to the immediate gratification side, you have nothing and you're broke and you're empty. And then if you have too much on the other side, thinking for the future, then you may be depriving yourself. We want you to find that balance. And going back to health being your number one asset, Dr. Brian, you brought that up. No question about it. Getting adjusted, eating healthy, being fit. Absolutely. And so let's circle back.
If you don't have your health, everything else is secondary.
That's right.
Correct.
Doesn't matter.
It's I don't care how much money you have.
Yep. You don't have your health.
All right. So let's circle back now. We did number 6. We'll skip that when we get after number 5. We'll go right to number 7. Let's go back to the beginning of your list.
Yeah.
So you talk about 7 ways to change your financial life for the better. The first one you have is to eliminate debt. Talk about from a long-term, immediate gratification, just putting it all together here. Why is that an important part of your plan?
Well, my way of looking at it, and we have different ways in certain respects, but debt probably is one of the most expensive things that you will have. I mean, you're paying anywhere from 18 to almost 30% interest on that debt, credit card debt, whatever else it may be. And people don't realize that the amount of money of interest that gets paid, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's a credit card, it doesn't matter. It adds up and it's significant. Our way of thinking is you first have to have a plan. You first have to know what you're spending, what your debt is, before you can try to eliminate it. You have to write down all your debt. You have to make sure you keep track for at least a month of everything that you spend. Know what your money is, know what your income is coming in, know what your outflow is. Once you get a plan in place, then you can set up a plan to try to tackle that debt on a systematic, realistic basis. And we can show people how to do that over time. And there are ways to do it, very simple ways sometimes. There are ways to do it. The key is getting to know where you are, having a plan in place so that you can work it. If you don't have a plan, it doesn't matter.
And we've done this, and we've showed people little, and I'm laughing at this because we've showed people on how and where they can save money, and we've had them write down everything. And then when they're writing it, they don't believe it.
Yeah.
They can't believe the number of what they spend on a monthly basis, and are like, wow. And these are people who are making sometimes a decent living, and they're like, I have no money. I have no money. I go, well, it's real simple. You're spending more than you're making, or you're spending too much. And I think that in their head, we have to make them spend less or teach them less. And I'm not going to go into the students with student loans right now, but they're on the same breed. They have to start learning to live with a little bit less. Make sure that they get out of debt. They have to have a really specific and tight plan, and it can be done. We've gotten people out of debt. It's just a plan.
Give us some basic strategies within the plan that you're talking about. So if people are listening, they could at least, I know one thing, of course, really important is you can't be an ostrich. You can't have your head in the sand. You got to take your head out of the sand. Once you take your head out of the sand, you start looking at these things. What are some simple steps that people can do to start chunking down their debt? And like you also said, and this is going to be the next part of what we're going to get into, is starting to set saving goals and meeting those savings goals, because you want to do both of those things at the same time.
Yes,
But give us some debt reduction strategies real quick for somebody that's listening.
We talked about how do you cut your spending, cancel subscriptions or memberships that you don't really use or utilize. Everybody says, that's not that much money. Add it up over a year and you'll be surprised. We said, don't go to Starbucks as often as you do. You can spend $5 a day at Starbucks. That's $1,500 a year. You don't have to do that necessarily. We said, stop smoking. Healthy. Number one, the biggest cause of cancer and death in this country is smoking. Just stop smoking. You see how much money you'll save. Take that money and put it away. We also said, I'm trying to think, we had utility, lower your temperature, get more efficient appliances, don't drive a big car. There are ways that you can do things. Keep your car and your tires properly inflated when you drive. Small little things that are not a lot individually, but taken as a whole and adding them up, it adds up to a substantial amount of money.
And then my favorite, we are a fast society. Nobody is utilizing cash anymore. We have gone to plastic, swiping phones, swiping cards. It's free. It doesn't even feel like you're spending money. It's great. I'm getting everything for free. And then you get the bill at the end of the month. And then you have interest added onto that. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to preach to get rid of one credit card a year. I never realized how many credit cards people have. And I go, you have 5. Oh, yeah, we bounce. We shift oh, boy. Please, you can use the snowball effect of trying to pay out your credit card, the smallest one first. Pay it off. Get rid of it. Still make the minimum payments on the other one. Get rid of your credit cards. Yep. They are making so much money. They're not doing it to be nice. They're in double digits. I haven't seen double-digit interest rate. Think about this. On an interest rate, probably since 1980s, there were double interest rates on basically CDs. They have been charging double interest rates forever. 20s, 30% on credit card debt. That's insane. And people do it every day.
If you have a credit card and you want to use your credit card, if you can get into the habit of it at the end of the month, pay it off. If you carry, American Express is a great way to do that, because most times you don't carry it forward. You charge, you pay it off. You get into a habit, you can't charge so much because you have a problem, but you get into a balance of doing things. If you have a credit card that has a $20,000 credit limit, man, you can say, I can charge that, I'll pay it off, and the month comes in, I don't have enough money, I'll pay off the minimum. And it keeps on going every month. By the end of the time, you have a $20,000 debt at 30% interest, you're paying $6,000 a year in interest on that card.
Come on, it's the second largest debt in this country. You saw it behind student loans right now. And
so people are getting nervous. They're listening to this, which means that don't just let it overwhelm you. Take your head out of the sand and take action. And I love what you said. Pay off the smallest one balance first, and then put the rest of that money, put that monthly payment towards paying down the next one and the next one. And
just
keep
going. You feel good. You crossed out a debt off the list. Yep. You accomplished something. You got rid. That's a great way to get success. You've accomplished something. Take credit for it. Little steps. Nothing. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It takes time.
Yes, indeed. And time is on your side.
Yes.
So don't procrastinate if time is on your side, which leads to number 2. Set savings goals.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, you need a budget, number one. People don't today. I mean, they really don't. I think, I don't know what percentage is, but I would say it's a minimal percent of people who actually have a budget. I'm telling you, honestly, I've tried it with my wife and I. We're never going to follow a budget. It's like never going to happen. But when you're young and you're starting out, it's easier to do
Yes.
that. You get into the habit of, and you don't have to do it religiously every single time, but get into an idea of budget of what you have income and what you have outflow. And try to stay within that budget. I mean, before credit cards, people used to pay everything with cash. Used to save up money until they could buy something, and then they would buy it. Today, it's totally different. You need something, it's just, I need to have it. Larry Markson was a great person that I used to work with. I need it in every color, every size, and every style that I can buy. You know, it could be 20 different shoes, but I have one in every color. People don't need that, but that's what people do.
And it gets crazy. They get in trouble for it.
And yeah, so you need a budget. You need to pay yourself first. You need to have a way that you get money coming in. You need to pay yourself.
So building your savings into your budget also.
Yes.
What you're
Yes.
going to
That was the greatest
Yeah.
example I ever learned a long time ago. Pay yourself first. And a lot of people don't understand what that means. What it means is if you know what you're getting paid, fool yourself. Just fool. If you're making, let's say, $1,000, fool yourself and tell you know what, I'm only making 800. Take 200, hide it somewhere. Just put it somewhere. Forget about it. And you will build a nest egg. You will be amazed how quickly it grows. I mean, we're living in a country where people don't even have enough, an emergency account where they have $1,500 laying around. They don't have enough. You're supposed to try to have 6 months in savings for your bills. People don't have enough if they have to go to the ER or $1,500 for an emergency. So please start taking money off the top. Start focusing and thinking, I'm not making that much. Let me clean it off the top, put it away. Now this is what I'm living on.
You know, and now, not to interrupt, Steve, but
Yes.
now you can set up a sweep account where every time you make a deposit into one account,
Yes.
it sweeps into a savings account, it sweeps into a tax account. You set it up, it
Exactly.
happens automatically.
Absolutely.
You know,
And
it's easy. You don't have to touch it.
Come on, you're dealing with professional people. We've dealt with professional people and people who have to pay taxes. And we have stated so many times, please set up a separate tax account. But why? I know the money's, just set it up, because this way you won't miss it when it's gone. You're already shuffling it to the side. You won't have to come back. No one's going to come back with penalties. It's off to the side. You've never seen it. You wrote it off. It's gone.
Yeah.
And no, I'm going to keep it in my and they spend the money.
Spend it, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
But savings doesn't have to be a lot of money. I've always told this, and I learned this also from dealing with a lot of clients. Start saving and get into the habit of saving. I don't care if it's $5 a week. It doesn't matter. Get into the habit. As you make more money, you'll save more. But if you're not into the habit, it becomes very, very difficult to do that on a religious basis.
Let's date ourselves now, because I know we're the same age. We grew up. You remember the Christmas clubs, the $2 a week? There used to be strategies where your parents used to teach you how to save.
Yeah.
Those are gone.
They don't have that.
They don't teach it in school.
No.
There is no education of this. But just like what we've learned in chiropractic, no one teaches you how to eat healthy. No one tells you how to, no one checks your spine, yet no one's teaching financial structuring either.
No.
And this is something that's really, really important for you.
It is. And I think one thing that's also what you talked about, assets at the beginning of this call. And the challenge, I think, that a lot of younger generation people, or people even maybe our age, where if you haven't saved, then you're not in a position to accumulate assets or purchase assets or invest in assets that can come back to you many times over, whether it's, buying that house that increases in value, or buying whatever it is that, or investing in a business, or investing in whatever else it is, or a piece of property, or whatever it is that may come up that you're not in a position to capitalize on that. So saving on a regular basis, you may say, well, this isn't going to get me there as fast as I might want to, but you put yourself in a position to maybe capitalize on investments that I know maybe you'll talk about, things like life insurance plans and other things that may have value that can help people get to where they want to be and reach their financial goals.
Well, there's great things, because, the number one thing we try to do is make people aware of avoiding risk. We always want to take the risk out of planning. Like, we don't want anything bad to happen to you or your family. And the first thing that even Steve said to me over 30 years ago was, first of all, we're going to reduce your risk. And I had no idea. I've met with financial people, because we're going to reduce your risk. We're going to make sure you have the right policies for you. So when you're married, you have kids, you have a family, anything happens to you as a primary breadwinner, you're taken care of. Your family will be taken care of. You don't want anything to happen to them. And today's with different plans, that money is almost like multitasking. It does more than one thing. It's an asset. You just took a liability of something and turned it into an actual asset now. So there's a lot of different things that can be done to help you. It's just a shame.
It's kind of interesting. And I think this is not just doctors. It's a lot of people. People don't realize that they need to protect assets. And, and we talk about that. But the biggest asset that needs protected is themselves. They need disability. They need a liability policy. They need an umbrella policy. They need to make their auto coverages up to date, their office coverages up to date. I mean, and their life insurance, at least, I don't care if it's term, they need to protect their family. Once that's all done, then you can expand into many different things. You can have the greatest plan in the world. I'm putting away this, and then become disabled and never have an ability to earn money again. What do you do then if you have no income? And I've seen it happen unbelievable amount of times. I get calls from people. I just found out I have cancer. Can I get my life insurance now? Or can I buy disability? No, you can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
this is not the time.
We've all seen it, even as a physician. Yeah. Eric, Dr. Plasker, Eric, my buddy, my friend. We've seen this happen, and it's horrible. Yes. You can't change the past. You only can change the future. And we try to educate people from living from I've done this with my older sons, 25 and 23. I've made mistakes. I'm not perfect, but the smartest thing you could ever do is invest in yourself. If you have confidence, take that money, invest it in yourself. We're not asking you to risk it on a horse, we want you to make conservative moves that you have the money is always there. It helps you make money and helps you progress. It can be leveraged and used.
True. And so, we bounced around a little bit here, which is fine because we've covered so many of the ways that people can eliminate debt. They can start saving money, develop a plan, how they can cut spending, canceling subscriptions. We talked about that. We kind of talked a little bit about maybe taking staycations. Why don't you cover that? Because I really want to get into picking the right tools for investing. So talk about just some of these things real quick where people can save money. And then let's get into the savings goals and picking the right vehicles.
Okay. But staycations, I mean, people, today take a vacation, go to Disney World with two kids and two parents. You could spend $8,000-$10,000 for a week in Disney World.
Been there.
I mean, it's ludicrous today. But there are places and ways that you can go, maybe not as crazy, or maybe you go to Disney, but go to a different resort. Go to, there are so many different places. You can go to Miami. You can go up in West Palm Beach. There are so many different places you can go to today. You can drive to different areas of the country from here. You can go up to Atlanta from here. It's not that far a drive. Savannah. There are places that you can go. So if you can drive to vacations and stay and save some money, that's one way. We talk about maybe packing your lunch instead of buying lunch every day. You got to spend $8-10 for lunch every day. That's $50 a week. That's how much? $2,500 in a year. Am I right? Something like that.
Something like that.
You can bring in a nice lunch, a salad, whatever it may be. First of all, you're going to eat healthier, and you don't have to spend the money that you're spending. So that's another way.
My favorite was, and I know it came during the disaster. It was during the hurricane season down here. We unfortunately get a lot of hurricanes, and when you lose power, when you lose things, and it was younger, and you take advantage. You kind of complain like I have electricity. But it was great camping outside in my backyard. I had a ball with my boys and my family. It was fantastic. You have the little burner. You use the barbecue grill. You're sleeping in a tent. You get to see the beauty of the natural stars in your backyard. Yes. And it's costing you zero. There's no phones. There's no electronics. It's a great time to bond. It was fantastic.
You have a great attitude, Brian. I love that about you, and I hope people adopt that. You could have fun doing anything.
Anything.
So even if it's camping after a hurricane.
Absolutely. Turn a negative into a positive, turn it into a teaching mechanism.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I mean, I lived in Georgia too. It's a beautiful state. This country is gorgeous everywhere. Natural parks everywhere that don't charge. You can go up to Washington, D.C., the museum. There's no fee.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you could do for less money. I would love to see people save. I'm not against having a good time, but I really think that the more you can save, the better off your lifestyle will be in the end. That's all.
Yeah.
That's
beautiful.
True.
All right. Well, let's get into some meat and potatoes, broccoli and cauliflower vegetables.
Right.
Okay.
Brussels sprouts too. Don't forget that.
I love Brussels sprouts.
There you go. And
grilled are great. Okay. So, savings goals and basically the tools. I mean, we broke it up into short-term funds and long-term funds. So, I mean, short-term funds, as Brian, we said before, you should have 3 to 6 months or 3 to 9 months of living expenses as an emergency fund. Most people don't have that. You want to go on a vacation? Save for your vacation so you can have the money available to go. Save for a car. Today, people lease cars. It's so easy that but they have leases now for 60 months, for 72 months. You're paying so much money for that car, and it's not worth anything when you get finished with it. And it's a waste. It's a waste. I mean, cars today, first of all, last a lot longer than they did years ago. I mean, they're just made to last longer. They're much better mechanically made.
And they're safer.
You got to save for short term. Those I consider short term. Long term funds, we would talk, down payment on a home, education, retirement. I mean, these are long term planning goals that you have to really sit down with somebody and really have conversations, your spouse, and really get into the nitty gritty of what you want to do. What do you need to live? What kind of lifestyle do you want? What schools do you want your kids to go to? There's a lot of different things. And again, saying that question, that's debatable, because you could say you want your kids to go here. They're never going to follow most of the times what you want them to do. If you do, you're really lucky, but they're going to do whatever they want to do.
I remember my daughter, I showed her the printout spreadsheet. She was in 11th grade. She was looking at colleges. I showed her the printout of, here's what it's going to cost to go to Georgia. Here's what it's going to cost to go to Colorado.
Yeah.
Pushed her in the direction, of course, since I'm in Georgia, of the state school,
State
which
school,
of course
right.
was not
Yeah.
where she went. Anyway,
I
hear what you're saying.
I had that with my
and
daughter.
no regrets on my part,
No,
by the way.
I wanted my daughter to go to a state school in Florida. My wife is from New York. Florida did have a great reputation. She says, no, I don't want her to go there. And my daughter picked up on it and said, no, I don't want to go there either. So now I'm 2 against 1. I lost, didn't have any shot.
Well,
It's
it was really like
amazing.
5 against 1.
But there are, you know what? A lot of states do have, and Florida has really a great prepaid college education plan. I'm fortunate enough that I was smart enough to do that with my boys, and I know how much money I saved and how much. And it just comes back to the basics of planning, writing it down. We help you form a plan. It's based on specific goals that each client has. Each person's different. There's no recipe for everybody or one fits all. It's each person is different.
Yeah.
If you're single, you're different than having a married couple. If you have no children, it's different than if someone has children. So it's really specifically set for where you want to be. But the number one thing it all starts with is a plan. You can't build a house without a plan. You get a contract, you get the best contractor in the world. I want a house put right here. What do you want?
I know you guys advocate as an important part of this plan that cash value life insurance is
Yes.
important.
Okay.
Especially really for people of any age almost, but really
Any
if you're younger too, these younger people that are listening, why is this a good vehicle? I know it's changed over the years. How has it changed over the years, and why is this a good vehicle for people to invest in?
You take it first, and I'm going
Okay.
to follow up.
Well, first of all, life insurance, it's literally the only vehicle available today that you can put money on a tax-deferred basis, have it grow on a tax-deferred basis, and access it tax-free. No restrictions on when you take it out. No penalties if you take it out before you're 59 and a half. Insurance comes as a side kicker to the policy as it's growing. But you can accrue this money on a tax-deferred basis, and then, as I said, access it tax-free. We have policies today. Most cash value policies have no downside risk. The market could go down 30 points. That cash value is going to go up next year. It's not going to go up as much, but it's going to go up. No matter what you do, it's going to go up. There's nothing else that you can put that in that's going to give you that kind of return, unless you put it into a CD, and then you're going to get a 1/4 point on your market, or 50 or a 1/2 point, and end up losing with inflation and everything else. You're not going to gain anything.
And you're going to pay taxes.
And you pay tax on that money. It's the only safe money that you can put aside today, other than under your mattress, and still get no growth there.
I love using that word safe money, because I even go one step further. It is safe, multitaskable money.
Yes.
That policy is leverage. It's collateral. You could take that policy to a bank and use it for an office down payment. That policy can be used as a multitasking tool. Not only is it a life insurance policy, but it also builds up cash value that you could utilize as your own bank. It also is a multitaskable because it's collateral you can use if you need more money for an office. It is a multitaskable item. And you know what the best thing about it is? I know we're sitting here talking today. 10 years ago, this didn't even exist. Oh, I could talk to you over the phone, podcast, I could see you over the computer. It didn't exist. The iPhone 10, it's amazing. The iPhone 1.
We're on 11
Is
now, Brian.
Is
We're on
anybody
11
using
now.
is anybody using the iPhone 1 anymore? No, no one is. It was the major thing of its time. But yet people go for newer technology, but they need to get newer information as well. You need to follow the newer information. Today, these policies are better than what they were 10 years ago. There's even more advantages if you know how to utilize them properly.
So
It's better
specific
than what it
advantages. Give us some specific
They
advantages.
they have a new policy out that's probably what it's been out the IULs, Indexed Universal Life.
Maybe 5 to 8 years.
About 5 to
really.
8 years ago. And before
Maybe a little bit more.
people used to know it as whole life or universal life. And it doesn't work. Well, now there's a plan called Index Universal Life where you could actually, your money's never invested in the stock market. And you can choose what your risk is. You can pick what index you want to associate that policy with.
Right.
So if you are more of a gambling type person, you can choose an index that has a little bit more upside or, again, a little bit more downside. Or if you're more conservative, you could choose a more conservative place to invest your own money. The problem is people don't know what to choose. And that's where we come in to guide them. They're not going to tell you. We are going to explain to you. We want to know. We do a case history just like a physician does. We want to know the ins, the outs, and everything about you. So we make a conjoined decision to help you best plan. But there's so many newer policies out.
Yeah,
Why would you buy an iPhone 1 today? Why?
But the other thing is people do not know, most people do not know how insurance works. They really think of life insurance as something that my family's going to get when I die. That's what most people think of insurance as today. But we try to explain that it's really living insurance. You want to be able to use it while you're living and use it as your own private bank. When you build up cash value and you're in business and you need to buy a piece of equipment, you can go to a bank and finance it. You can go to the leasing company and finance it. You can pay for it out of your business. Or you can take it out of your own little private bank and take out the money and pay yourself back over time, but you're paying you back. You're not paying a bank back. It's great to be able to leverage that money into many different things. It's a hard concept. Don't ask me why. When people finally get in that aha moment comes and the bulb lights up, then they say, how much can I get? I mean, literally, it's a different way of thinking.
If I only knew then what I know now.
Yeah.
I'm living proof of it, even though I finance multiple offices this way. If I only knew then what I know now, I would have had multiples. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really opens up the door to options that when people understand that they can do this. And ignorance is expensive. I often will say to doctors that I talk to that the most expensive things out there are anger, fear, and ignorance. Those are the most expensive things.
Yes.
I think it's great that we're having this discussion. People are getting to know you, getting to know somebody they can ask questions to, somebody they can reach out to. And if you have somebody in your life that you trust or that you want to work with, then you should call them. But you shouldn't.
Fantastic.
You should not stick your head in the sand, take your head out of the sand, and really start to have conversations with people that care, like you guys, that care, they want to make a difference, they want to help. How can people reach you guys if they want to reach out to you?
They can go onto our website, which is wppllc.net. Our email addresses, I don't know if you have them.
At info
at wealthpp.net.
Okay, so your email address, how can they reach you by email?
We each have our separate ones, which is Brian M at wealthpp.net and Stephen K at wealthpp.net. It goes to the same place, but the major one is info at wealthpp.net. We'd be more than happy. We'll answer any questions, no charge. Contact us. We're open. We love answering questions. The one thing that no matter what people do, the number one thing, and we brought this point up before, is you can never buy back time. The earlier you start on something, the easier it is to get where you want to go. And I can't demonstrate that. It's tough when people come in and they're 65 years old and they say, a tree doesn't just grow from the ground up 100 feet in a day. It took years to do that, and it takes time. That's what we're trying to get at, and we're trying to tell people it's great when you can go to sleep and your money's still working for you.
I mean, it's interesting also, and I know we talk a lot about people who are just starting out in practice or who's starting to earn money. When you have also clients who are making a decent amount of money and a nice amount of money, I'm talking about good income. We just did a plan for somebody putting away $100,000 a year. Okay, not everybody can afford that. They do it for 10 years, and then they start in 15 years taking out an income for the rest of their life of $211,000, tax-free. I mean, how many vehicles can actually people put that money away and then take out that income for the rest of their lives? They can, to age 90, they can take out over $7 million, tax-free.
And
from the
that,
program.
and that was an investment of $1 million, bringing back over $4 million.
Just the problem is I say that most people don't believe that can be done.
That's right.
They don't believe it, but it's there, and I know people who have done it, and it works.
All of us need to be enlightened.
I'm only going to quote my favorite investor of all time, and everybody knows him. Yes, he does. Is Warren Buffett, and he has his 2 rules of investing. Rule number 1 is never lose money. Rule number 2 is always follow rule number 1. If you think that all he makes is money by only investing in the stock market, you are totally wrong. He has deals where he can't lose, and that's what we're trying to utilize. Define what your risk is and limit it.
To quote Warren Buffett as we wind down and say goodbye on this call, which has been very energetic and good. I appreciate the wisdom.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yes,
passion.
appreciate that.
I heard Warren Buffett say one time, successful people never suck their thumb. So if you did make a mistake and you're not where you want to be, odds are you're going to live longer than you ever thought, to 80, 90, 100 years and beyond. So get there in style. Start now financially. Reach out to our friends. Take care of your family. And hey, love and appreciate you guys so much. It's been
Same here. Love it.
working
And
with
you know that.
guys.
We have a special bond. I love this stuff. Anything we could do to help, and especially, chiropractic's a bonus on it because, we love helping chiropractors and chiropractic patients especially because we think we have the same knowledge and we want to help them.
And I'm not a chiropractor, obviously, but I've been working with them for the last 30 some odd years, 35 years. I believe in it. I understand it. I understand some of the, the concepts, and we try to help them. That's what our goal is. We're trying to help people get to where they want to be.
I love that. And, the
safe
world
way.
is catching up to all of those ideas chiropractically. We just did a podcast with Dr. Stephanie Sullivan on neuroscience. She's a PhD in neuroscience. The world is just rapidly moving in our direction. Everything that we said has been true is true. And you're talking about those types of things financially as well. So listen, your 100 is coming. You make the call, everybody. Thanks for being on with us. Dr. Brian, Steve, thanks again.
Your 100 is coming, and you get to choose how you want to get there.
Thank you so much for joining us on the 100 Year Lifestyle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have topics that you want us to cover, people you want us to interview, maybe you have some stories that you want to share, stories of yourself, loved ones, people in your life, we would love to hear from you and share your story. Please email us at my100@100yearlifestyle.com. And remember, nobody wants to get to 100 or even 50, 60, or 70 for that matter, crippled, broke, and alone. So please share the 100-Year Lifestyle, all of our podcasts, social media pages, website with your family, friends, and coworkers so they can take this journey with you. And until next time, adjust your lifestyle. Live your best life today and every day on the road to a sensational century. Dr. Plasker, signing off.